So this video is basically an attempt to find common ground, if possible, with regard to the Echoes of Sedona, which I made a video about before. This is part 2. Because Bashar suggested that, and I think it's a good idea, but I do believe it's going to be difficult because looking at the reactions I got from my previous video, I don't really have high hopes that we can find any common ground, because there's just too much confusion and too much, the split is too deep. It's going to be difficult, but this is my best attempt at least. So I'm going to start with some simple logic and observations that I hope at least most of us can agree upon, because to actually find common ground, we have to find something that we all agree upon. That's the only way. So I'm going to start with this. Bashar, everybody remember that Bashar said predicted that in the end of 2016 everything will start to change, and then Trump got elected, which was a massive shock for the whole world basically, and it split the whole world into two camps, those who were anti-Trump and those who were pro-Trump. So he initiated this split, and regardless of what you may think of him and his personality or whatever, it's very clear that Trump is an agent of the change that Bashar predicted would happen. You can think what you want about that, but that's a fact. I mean, he predicted that everything will start to change, and Trump wins. For the first time, we have a non-politician who is an outsider in that sense, in the most powerful job and the most influential person in the world, basically. That's never happened before. And a lot of people couldn't handle it, and a lot of people loved it, because finally there was a real person, like a real guy who talks his mind, who doesn't play an act, who doesn't have a polished act to show, and a front to show the media and the world, but actually has been consistently the same person as he has been his entire life. If you look at interviews with Trump 20 years ago, he has the same ideas about politics and how the globalists and deep state is ruining the USA basically, and all these things. He talks about the same stuff many years ago in interviews, and that's exactly what he ran on and exactly what he implemented or tried to implement. So at least he's real, like him or not, and he is also clearly an agent for the change that Bashar predicted would come. So that I think we can agree upon that, at least, if you're reasonable, and we can all agree that he must be, or he is the agent for change. And basically, just like a wrecking ball does not have to be highly evolved or conscious to do its job, because it's just a tool. You can see Trump in the same way. He's basically just a tool, and the right tool for the job of dismantling the deep state. Not everybody could handle that job, because imagine how much hate and negativity and onslaught of media craziness this guy has had to withstand in the last 8 to 10 years, or how long it is. Basically, since he ran for president, he has had a massive media campaign against him, trying to paint him as the worst person in the history, basically, despite the fact that he has been famous all his life, and he never had any problems before he ran for president or won the presidency. That's when all the media insanity started against him, and that brainwashed and split a lot of people into believing all those hoaxes and lies. I'm not saying Trump is a perfect guy. I'm not even saying he's a highly evolved guy or even highly conscious, anything like that. I'm not even saying he's a super good guy. I'm just saying he's the best tool for the job. He's very used to be in the media. He can handle the pressure. He's extremely thick-skinned, and he's been able to handle all that hate he has got against him, and all these things, projections on him. Imagine the whole world projecting, half the world projecting hate on you continuously, 24/7 for years. Imagine that energy. You'd be able to handle that. You can't be like a sensitive guy. You have to be a rough person, right? And that's what he is. And the problem is, a lot of people believe that we need to have a saint to lead us into the golden age. that may become later, but for now we need somebody who's like a wrecking ball and a rhinoceros kind of person who just rams through and gets his hands dirty and actually does that job of dismantling and exposing the deep state, which obviously is a dangerous job because he has numerous assassination attempts against him, even being shot in the ear. So I mean, think about it. Why would that's like a divine intervention. Nobody can predict. I mean, nobody can turn their head in a split second to avoid a bullet like that in a live event. That cannot be rehearsed or faked in any way. Obviously, it was a divine intervention. So, I mean, somebody higher up wanted Trump to live. If they wanted to avoid him being president, they could have just not made his head turn in the exact right moment, right? There has to be a reason that this guy was saved like that. Because obviously, I mean, you can even see the bullet in one of the pictures because they had a live camera on him and with high exposures, you can actually see the bullet. So you can't really fake that, okay? The point is, if you can't handle Trump or you think he's a horrible person or whatever you think he is, at least you can acknowledge that he is the right tool for the job. A wrecking ball doesn't have to be conscious, as I said, doesn't have to be evolved, doesn't have to be anything, but it has to be the tool that works. And Trump is the tool that works and can get that job done, which is not an easy job because it's dangerous and it requires a really thick skin, which he has, obviously. So if you disagree with that notion, then you're basically arguing with and resisting reality, because that's exactly what is going on. You can't argue with the fact that this is happening. You can try to resist it and you'll feel bad about it, but it is happening. And that's up to you. But it's also fairly obvious that if Kamala Harris was elected, you would get exactly the same thing as with Biden, even worse. It would just continue down that path. And the only reason that would not lead us closer to World War III is because the deep state would not need to do it since they got their puppet installed anyway. So if Harris got elected, they wouldn't have to initiate World War III or try to do it because they had their person, their puppet installed. So that now the last time they unleashed the whole COVID thing to stop Trump's agenda and stop Trump from exposing them. And this time they're trying to initiate World War III. And this is evident in the fact that the deep state puppet, which is Biden, is trying to give nuclear missiles to Ukraine on his way out of the White House. And he's already initiated so they can send long-distance missiles into Russia. Massive provocations trying to start World War III. All the while, Trump is already negotiating peace deals with Ukraine and Russia before he's even in office. So obviously Trump is not trying to start World War III. That's not what the prediction is about. The prediction is that the man or the masculine energy or whatever, Trump being elected, would lead us closer to a World War III situation. Not because Trump wants that, but because the deep state counter to him or trying to stop him is to try to start World War III. That's how desperate they are to preserve their power, right? So that's the whole thing. That's the idea. It's not that Trump is bad and want to start World War III and Harris is good. It's that Kamala Harris is a deep state puppet, so they wouldn't have to go to that step to start World War III if she was installed, because they would have their agenda continued. Which they don't, and with Trump they will have their agenda completely disrupted, and they will most likely be dismantled completely within the next 4 years. So Trump is basically the most visible agent of this change that Bashar predicted, and this has split the world and the Bashar community into two camps. You can call these camps the MAGA Truth Movement camp and the anti-Trump camp. And one of these camps has embraced this radical change predicted by Bashar, while the other camp has ferociously resisted it. It's pretty self-evident that those in a triggered state of resistance are in a lower state of being than those who have embraced the change and are rolling with the change. This you can't argue with. If you're in resistance, you're basically in misery, you're suffering because you're resisting reality, and you're resisting the change that Trump represents or is an agent of, which has been predicted by Bashar. Bashar said everything would change, and you need agents to carry out that change. You can't just willy-nilly have a change for nothing, with nobody doing it. It has to manifest in 3D, okay? So, I mean, it's very simple. I mean, you have to have that. And Trump and these people behind the scenes and whatnot that he's working with, white hats behind the scene, maybe the military behind the scene, whatever, they are doing that work in 3D. And so many people are resisting it because they can't handle Trump's personality for some reason, or they're triggered by it. And they can't see the bigger picture, and they're resisting the change. You're not helping anything by resisting reality, okay? So it's very, very obvious that one camp has been the one who are resisting this change, and the other camp has embraced it. So you have to ask yourself, which camp are you in? Are you resisting reality and the change that Bashar predicted would come, or are you actually rolling with it and you know, accepting it? For me personally, I've found Trump to be hilarious, and both hilarious and also highly effective in a job that he's meant to do the whole time. I had a really good time watching his, this loose cannon character going, doing his thing on the world stage. It's been fun. I had fun all the way. While all these people are resisting it, have been miserable all the way. I've been suffering all the way through this. All these years with Trump, I had so much fun watching, him in the debates, in interviews, anything, because I like the fact that he is refreshing with somebody like that who speaks his mind, who just is himself, with no shame, no excuses, just let it all hang out there, like just being himself in that role, like you never see before. Because all these politicians we used to, they also polished, they put up an act, so you never really know who they are, because they put up a fake facade and they say all the correct things, so-called, but in reality what they are doing behind the scenes is not really helping anybody and helping real regular people. So for me, and for the MAGA people, this has been hilarious, and it's still hilarious. It's even more hilarious now with the Doge department and all these things, and Musk and all these cool people are joining his cabinet, right? It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be an amazing show to see the deep state being dismantled by these departments with dog memes. I mean, how can you not like that? I don't understand how it's possible, but okay. So I had a great fun, and everybody who were into the MAGA stuff and the truth movement, they had great fun watching Trump, and he's also extremely effective in doing what he does best, which is dismantling this deep state. The problem is, of course, the deep state retaliates, and they did the COVID stuff, which stopped this whole agenda and made a big problem. But now we have gone through that, and now they're trying to start World War III. I don't think they're going to be successful, because I think Russia knows that Trump is soon going to be in power, and then there's no point in wasting the whole world just because of some bullshit happening now. So I think it's going to work out pretty good after this initial craziness. So basically, it's all about, are you taking life and yourself a little bit too seriously? Like Bashar often says, you have to lighten up on things, it's not so serious. And the anti-Trumpers are the ones who are taking themselves and life and everything way too seriously. They are the ones who are in the resistance to the very change that they say they want. Everybody rallied around Obama because he promised change. Trump is actually delivering the change, and now suddenly so many people are against it. They can't handle it for some reason. And especially if you're into Bashar, and most people are not even into that, and they still, I can understand those people who are against Trump because they don't see the bigger picture. But if you're into Bashar, you should understand by now that there is going to be a massive change, and that change cannot come without upset, without things happening that really shakes things up. and out from the how it's been to how is supposed to become in the future, right? You can't just have like a walk on roses through everything. There has to be a massive upset and a chaotic and maybe scary time in which in this chaos the change can come. Things has to break, the old has to collapse and break down before the new can emerge, right? That's common sense. That's something everybody understands, really, if you think about it. It might be scary and chaotic, but it's like a dark night of the soul that's needed before the dawning of the new can come. So this is the global dark night of the soul, like the Oracle hinted at the end of the Echoes of Sedona session. He talks about the dark night of the soul calling forth the light. And that's exactly the time we're in now globally. It's a dark night of the soul, and then it will be the dawn of a new age, the golden age, when we come through this. But the big idea is to not resist the change, to roll with it and actually embrace it instead. You're going to have much more fun, you're not going to suffer so much, and it's going to be much better for everybody. It's going to help the change be more smooth also. The more people who don't resist it, the more smoother it will go, basically. It's all the resistance that is creating all the craziness. So, and here's the thing to understand. Here's the big takeaway. If Trump triggers you, you're actually lucky, because it means you can easily get in touch with a lot of stuff that you need to heal and integrate and process out of your system. It's like low-hanging fruit, and you're wasting that opportunity to increase your level of consciousness and to remove large chunks of your pain body by projecting blame onto your imaginary version of Trump, instead of just using the reflection you get from him and what he brings up in you to actually heal yourself. The whole world, everything is designed to trigger you, as long as you have triggers in you. Everything is designed to trigger you. But that's why you have to use the reflections that trigger you to actually heal those things. And you have low-hanging fruit with Trump. It's so easy. If you don't use those reflections in this way, it does not matter how much Bashar teachings you have filled your head with, or how good you are at parroting that stuff to others. It does not matter how many pyramids you wear in your head, and how many mantras you repeat, and how much incense you burn, and how many hours per week you meditate. You will be stuck and stagnated forever if you don't do the basic inner work of healing and using reflections that trigger you to heal yourself. This is kindergarten stuff, okay? This should be obvious to anybody who's into self-empowerment and into Bashar and these things. This is basic stuff. Trump or anybody else, they're not to blame for how you feel inside or what triggers you. Whatever happens and that triggers you are not to blame. If you blame that, you haven't understood the basic kindergarten lessons. If you believe that's how it is, that you have a right to be triggered because so and so and so. No. If you're triggered, that's your opportunity and responsibility to actually heal what was triggered in you. That's how you grow in consciousness. That's the whole point. Okay? That's why you're here, to understand and to learn. This is basic ABC. So you can't really claim to have understood anything of Bashar's teachings if this is new to you, or this is somehow shocking or provoking you to hear this. Because this is basic teaching. This is like, this is something you should be practicing every day, all your life. You are responsible for how you feel. If Trump makes you feel provoked or triggered or whatever, it's not because of him, it's because of things that he brings up in you, okay? And you need to allow that pain or whatever it is to surface. You need to sit with it in full awareness and full acceptance and feel it fully. Because then it will leave you forever. And that's how you heal inside. And you can rinse and repeat until it's all gone. That's the only thing that works. That's what's called inner work, okay? And resisting reality and everything just makes you feel worse and miserable anyway. You're supposed to use the reflections that trigger you to actually... that's how you get... The life shows you that, hey, you have something here to look at. And then you sit with it and you allow it to come up fully and you just accept it until it leaves by itself. And then you're rid of it. And you do that enough, you will feel so much better. You will raise your level of consciousness and your state of being to a whole new level. And all those who resist Trump and cannot handle him, you know, what they should do, or what you should do if this is for you, then you should basically find the Trump video that triggers you the most and meditate on that. You put that video on and you sit there and you allow that triggering chaos and pain to come up, and then you just do that all every day until you got rid of everything there is to get rid of. In that way you can raise your level of consciousness tremendously in a very easy way, because you have found a perfect trigger to get it up. You're actually lucky if you use this in the way it's supposed to be used, instead of blaming Trump and, you know, living in resistance and suffering for year in and year out because, you know, the person you think is causing your problems. It's just a boogeyman you have created in your mind. There's nothing with him that creates your pain. The pain and all the suffering and negativity was already inside you from begin with, okay? He is just bringing it up, so he's doing you a great favor. If you can't see that, you have to go back to kindergarten, okay? This is the basic stuff of raising your consciousness, of living Bashar's teachings. And it's not really possible to find common ground with people who are in chronic resistance and to the very change that they claim they want. Okay, that's what these people are. You want change, you want all these things to change, but you don't want to go through the chaos of the change. And the chaos starts in you. You have to face your own inner chaos before you can embrace and accept the other chaos that's going to be in the world, as already is in the world. You have to allow that stuff to come up and let it go and integrate it and heal it. And Trump is your basically what you should meditate on. You should use a picture of him or a video or whatever you need to actually get that stuff out of your system, because it will do you a major favor. You will completely change your life if you do that. You can just try. If you do it one time and you succeed, you will know what I'm talking about. Maybe you have to repeat it sometimes. Maybe you have to repeat it for 1 month every day, whatever, how long it takes. But believe me, you're gonna be so relieved when you start to see that this actually works. Okay, and how do you think you can handle ET contact with all the stuff that they will bring up in you, if you can't even handle Trump? You know, he's a low-level guy. He's a not very high conscious level, and he's bringing up all this stuff in you. The ETs are going to bring up much worse. That's not even, you know, that's even Bashar says so much. You know, he says that if they came now, we would think they were demons, because we have so much stuff buried still that we wouldn't be able to handle first contact. We would project it all onto them and look at them as demons. Okay, and that's pretty much what happens for people with Trump. You project all that negativity and darkness onto him, and you see him as this demon, evil person, when all the negativity and darkness is actually in you, projected onto him. It doesn't matter if he is objectively not a very good person. That's not the point. You should still not be triggered by it. You know, if you're triggered by it, then you have a problem, and you have to solve that problem. You have to look into yourself and heal that stuff. That's what works. It doesn't matter what he is or does or says or anything. Not if you want to live, you know, to get back to reality and heal yourself and actually become a whole person, instead of split between a shadow self and a conscious self. You're projecting your own shadow onto him, and that's what the whole world has been doing, or half the world. And, you know, that's what we have been seeing playing out, and it's time for people to get over that. If you want to meet in the middle, you have to do that inner work, okay? You can't just be projecting all that stuff onto Trump and everybody else who like Trump or whatever, you know, half the population, because you believe you're in the right. If you insist that you are in the right because so and so and so, and you walk around triggered and miserable, that's going to be your life, okay? You really want that, or you want to actually change, because this is a great opportunity. It's low-hanging fruit. You can easily do it. It's just sitting down and, you know, let that stuff come up and let it be there and accept it unconditionally until it leaves. And it will leave. Maybe take some time. Maybe you have to repeat it sometime, many days in a row, of, you know, how long it takes. But it will leave. It will lighten your burden on your shoulders. It will make you feel much better and better and better progressively the more you do this. And you will know that, hey, it works. You have proof of concept, and then you can just continue doing that every day. That's what real inner work is about, okay? Blaming Trump, now it's been so many years, you're still wasting your life away blaming him for everything and thinking he is the one who's making you feel bad. No. You are the one who's making you feel bad by holding on to that nonsense that he is bringing up in you. That's the only thing you have to do is easy. Just sit down and face it, okay? It's gonna be gone quick. Why not? It's gonna be so much more fun once you get rid of that shit. You know, believe me, it's basic ABC, okay? I don't understand why Bashar doesn't talk more about this. It goes hand in hand with acting in your highest excitement, okay? Acting in your highest excitement brings up a lot of stuff in the same way that you have to face. You have to do these things. It's like same as breathing almost. It should be your daily practice all waking hours. That's how you work. If you want to grow in consciousness, this should be you don't need a mantra or you don't need to sit down and meditate. You need to practice this all the time. You need to actually face the triggers and what it brings up in you. That's how you grow quickly and to the higher end of the scale of consciousness, okay? That's how you live the teachings of Bashar instead of trying to parroting them to others because you don't really practice it yourself, but you can feel better if you teach people about it, like you just repeat what Bashar says, like so many Bashar followers do, in my opinion, in my experience. Instead of actually practicing it, they're just repeating it endlessly to other people so they can feel like they are the teachers because they learn some words and some knowledge in their head, right? But you have to really practice it before you can become any teacher. You have to go through and learn how to heal and the triggers and take responsibility for it. That's the real inner work that most people ignore because they don't want to feel the pain. They rather just jump right into being a teacher because then they can feel superior, right? It's not even about politics or who got elected. That doesn't really matter. Like Bashar said, it doesn't matter at all. It's about taking basic self-responsibility, okay? It's about dismantling your own inner deep state of pain and to feel better about yourself and your life. And this is the only way we can find common ground because the people who have done that inner work, they can't, go through the glass wall and drag you up to it. You have to move closer to the glass wall yourself, and you're far away from it if you blame Trump or anybody else or anything else for how you feel inside. If you don't take basic responsibility for yourself like that, you can just forget about first contact or anything. You're far away from that. You're on the wrong side of the glass wall, okay? You still have time now, an opportunity now to get back to the glass wall and even cross it into the other side. But you have to start with accepting that, hey, I'm wrong, okay? Blaming other people, blaming Trump for everything and how I feel is just plain wrong. It's not going to work, it's not going to help for anything. You have to take that basic inner responsibility and start doing that work, and you can probably quickly get back to the glass wall and into the other side of it. It doesn't mean you have to like Trump at all. It just means you have to have a neutral relationship to him, so to speak, and you have to see him as what he is, a tool that is doing the dirty work of taking down the deep state and dismantling the deep state, which is basically a 3D manifestation of what has been taken down on a higher plane by all the lightworkers who came to do this mission. We have dismantled the collective negative ego to such a degree that there's no manifesting in the 3D physical reality, and Trump is just one of the agents. There are many people working behind the scenes with him, like white hats in the military and whatnot, who are doing that work of dismantling and taking down the deep state, which is a manifestation of the collective negative ego. So this is all going on, and if you embrace it and embrace this process and accept it instead of resisting it, you're much more helping it, the whole thing, and you will also suffer much less and actually enjoy it instead. So I mean, if you want to learn more about this, you can check my ebook on Amazon with a link. We have a link below in the description. It's going to cost you less than a Bashar session. It's basically $10, But if you just do what I said in this video and face your pain, that's more than enough. You will succeed with it. My book goes into more detail about these things, but you don't really need it either. I'm not doing this to make money. I don't care, okay? It's just, I have a book because I have these teachings, and you can buy it if you want, but it's all about facing that negativity and darkness inside, and I just told you how to do that. It's not that difficult. You just need to get started with it before it's too late, because this is the opportunity. Time is, the train tracks are moving and further apart, and you still have time to change and to actually get in on the right track, but you have to start quickly with this practice of taking self-responsibility and basically healing yourself like that. And yeah, that's all I have to say.